Hello and welcome back to our Girl Scout programs. We've been doing them virtually over the last few weeks because we are in quarantine. So today we'll be doing the Cadette Eating For You program. It's also Nurse Appreciation Week, so we are talking about how to keep our minds and our bodies healthy. So today we will be doing a couple of activities. Two of them are different recipes on how to choose some healthy alternatives to our everyday diet. I'm also going to show you a meal plan, and we will be taking a look at an example of the perfect plate of proteins, vegetables, fruit and dairy and grains to keep a well-balanced diet and keep ourselves and our bodies and our immune system working properly. So again, my name is Honora and I work for the Girl Scouts of Suffolk County, and we'll get started. If you do a little research and you go onto the United States Department of Agriculture website, they give you an example of, it's called MyPlate. And what it does, it guides you into the perfect variety that your plate should consist of on your everyday meals. Because you know that good nutrition can help your body stay healthy. And every day we're being told to wash our hands for 20 seconds every time you wash our hands, wear masks when you go out to stay healthy and protect yourself from getting any viruses or any sicknesses. But another part of aiding in your immune system and protecting your body is by good nutrition. So if you see on our page, we have our fruits. So it's a little bit less than a half, or a little less than a quarter. If you see, this is divided into 4 different quarters. So we have our fruits and our vegetables, our proteins, our grains, and we have our dairy on the side. So this would be a typical plate for every meal that you have. You don't want to have too much fruit because it does have a lot of sugar. Sugar can really affect your body in a negative way, so you want to stick to a little less than a quarter of a plate of your fruit. Vegetables, you can never have too many vegetables. Proteins are good for keeping you energized throughout the day. And when you go for grains, you might want to stick to darker grains. So for example, you might have rice, but better alternatives is picking brown rice as opposed to processed white rice. And don't forget our dairy. It keeps our bones and our teeth strong. Okay, so what I also had provided for you on our website, on our Girl Scout Facebook, and on our website is a printout of a blank plate. So it's a good idea to divide it up into 4 quarters, and what you'll do is you write a couple of different items that you might want to incorporate in your diet. Reminds you every single day what you should be doing. So the next step that I have for you, that we also had a printout for you available, is your weekly meal plan. Meal planning is a big part of keeping your body healthy. If you're on a diet, you can ask anybody. Meal prepping is the best thing that you can do to keep it persistent. So what I'm going to show you is a quick example of a daily meal plan. This would be a good idea to have this hanging up in your room or on your refrigerator just to keep you on track. All right, so here's an example of my weekly meal plan. I've been focusing on eating a lower amount of carbs just because I realized that I was gaining some weight during this quarantine. I know it can be difficult to stay on track, but here is an example of better choices to make throughout the week. So for instance, for breakfast, I chose Greek yogurt with fresh strawberries and blueberries. Blueberries are a great way to get antioxidants in your body. Some grilled chicken for lunch as a Caesar salad. I love Caesar salad, but I swapped out lettuce for spinach leaves. They always say the darker the greens, darker, greener, leaner. It'll keep you at a healthy weight. For dinner, half a plate of mixed greens, some steak, peppers, and onions. And for a snack, I did a handful of almonds and dark chocolate. Now you might be wondering, well, dark chocolate has sugar in it. It does, but a very low amount of dark sugar. So if you're going to make a choice of eating a candy to make, maybe a trail mix, you'd want to stick with dark chocolate. The first recipe we will be doing is a recipe for hummus. It involves chickpeas or garbanzo beans, some tahini or a sesame paste, some ground cumin, black pepper, and salt, 2 cloves of garlic. I have a really big piece of garlic, so I'm just going to use 1. A lemon juice, but I'm using 1 lemon and I'll be cutting it in half to get the juice. Some extra virgin olive oil, regular olive oil is fine. You can even use canola. There's some water. And a blender processor, food processor. I'm going to be using a NutriBullet, some measuring spoons, a knife, cutting board, and you'll also need a strainer. I already strained my garbanzo beans, but I'm going to rinse them. You want to get rid of any extra starch or oil that was in the can, so that's why I'm rinsing them with cool water before beginning making my hummus. Okay. All right, so whenever you are cutting a lemon or any vegetables, you want to really get a nice grip on the vegetable or fruit, and always tuck your fingertips inwards so that you don't prick your finger with the knife. I'm going to be making some cuts into the lemon just so it's easier for me to get the juice out. You'll need about 2 tablespoons of this. 1/2 of a lemon should be more than enough. And now I'm going to show you how to cut some garlic. It makes it easier if you use your palm or the side of your hand to give it a nice karate chop. Helps you get the peel off first, because sometimes cutting off a peel of a garlic clove can be a little difficult. But if you karate chop it, it slides right off, like so. Okay, we're going to give it another nice little karate chop with the palm of my hand. Flatten it out, and I'm going to chop it just a little bit. Now, don't be too concerned about getting this minced or chopped too much. I just like to do it a little bit so that you don't bite into a big chunk of garlic, because that's not fun. Because either way, your food processor, your blender, or your Magic Bullet or a NutriBullet will chop it up by itself. And just a trick, if you ever have garlic breath, if you chew on a piece of parsley, it'll get that smell out and the taste will go away. All right, so I continue to chop it just a tiny bit, and then we are going to start adding our ingredients to the NutriBullet. And just to make it a little bit easier, I grabbed a measuring cup. Just so that I could scoop my garbanzo beans into my NutriBullet without dropping them all over the place. Because sometimes cooking can get a little messy. But if you have the right tools, you can make it an easy process. We're going to scoop all of those chickpeas into the NutriBullet. And it doesn't matter what order you put all your ingredients in, but do make sure that you save adding more water till the end of the recipe. You first want to get all the other ingredients chopped up nicely in there before adding a liquid. Okay, so I have my garbanzo beans. I'm going to start adding my garlic. Garlic can get a little messy, so I'm just wiping my measuring spoon clean. Now I'll be adding some tahini, 3 tablespoons full. Now don't panic if you don't have tahini on hand at your house. There is easier way to do it. You can always use sesame seeds and you just grind them up. There's plenty of recipes online too. It's usually just oil and sesame seeds, and it's grinded and blended into a fine paste. I just happen to have plenty of tahini in my house. My father's Middle Eastern, I'm half Egyptian, so we have plenty of tahini and cumin on hand at all times. But don't worry if you don't. It is not detrimental to the recipe. And what you'll notice with tahini is that there is a little bit of oil in there as well. That's why you don't want to go overboard adding your olive oil, because there's already oil in the tahini, which also helps with the consistency. Tahini kind of has like a peanut butter consistency. Sorry for all the background noise. All right, so I'm going to be eyeballing how much lemon juice I'm adding. But you can squeeze it into a tablespoon measuring spoon so that you can get the exact. What I like about cooking is always fun to play around with ingredients. You start off small and you can add more if you need to. Here's 2 tablespoons of olive oil. But like I said, in baking though, you should follow the rules directly what they say, because that's all like a scientific type of recipe. With cooking, you can be a little more lenient. So you might want to use a pinchful instead of an actual tablespoon or teaspoon. But just, listen to your taste buds and alter it how you like. So I'm adding some cumin. Like I said, I'm Middle Eastern, so I like a lot of cumin. So I will be adding more at the end, but just for the sake of the recipe, I followed the directions. So this was a teaspoon of cumin. And I'm also going to add my salt and pepper at the end of the recipe, just because I don't want to add. Right now I'm fasting for Ramadan, which is a holiday that I celebrate for my culture and my religion. So I can't really taste anything. So I'm going to save that for the end of the day, where I can actually taste it and add my salt and pepper. But you can taste it as you go if you'd like, and just base it that way. So here's the difficult part. Sometimes it can get frustrating when you are grinding up your garbanzo beans, because it takes a little while for it to get to the consistency that you need it to be as a dip. So you'll see in this video that I will put it back on 3 different times. So the first time I'm just trying to crush up the beans. You'll see that they start getting crushed up a little bit. The second round, I will add a little bit of water, and then I will add more water at the end. So I crush this up a tiny bit, and then I am going to remove it, shake down the excess beans, open it, and add some water, just to loosen up those ingredients, help it get to the consistency that I want it to be. So I added about a 1/4 cup, give or take, of water. But like I said, start off small first, and then you can always add more, but if you add too much, it's difficult to get that out of there. Okay, so now I'm going to try to mash that up. See how it's getting a little bit looser for this time around. So I'm going to just let it sit for a second. Once the blades stop going, that means that it's time for me to remove from my NutriBullet. I will be opening it up and adding more water. Perfect. Close that nice and tight. It's getting a little messy. See? All right, and I'm gonna wipe that clean a little bit and shake it up. Get everything mixed together by hand and then put it back on my NutriBullet for one last hoorah. It's definitely the consistency of a perfect hummus. And you'll see this part. And you compare it with any vegetables. I use baby carrots. I add a little parsley for decoration, and that's the perfect consistency for the dip. And don't forget that a big part of staying healthy is having a good amount of water in your body. So drinking water throughout the day can keep you energized and it'll keep you hydrated. So don't forget your water intake. What you do and what you eat can really also affect your sleep and your stress levels. So while you're at home, you might want to observe a change of maybe the time you eat before you go to sleep. If you don't eat before you go right to bed, how that can affect your sleeping pattern. Typically, when you go to sleep on an empty stomach, it can help you have a full night of REM sleep. So I'm going to show you another recipe. We had earlier done our hummus recipe. I'm going to show you a healthy alternative for nachos. It's going to be apple nachos, and we're going to kind of celebrate Cinco de Mayo. So for our apple nachos, you'll need, obviously, an apple. You'll have to core it as well and slice it into slices. And then you can pick your toppings. I'm not gonna put any chocolate chips like I said in the recipe. You can put chocolate chips though, if you'd like. I'm going to be using dried cranberries or craisins. And I'll be using some sliced almonds, some peanut butter, and a little bit of honey. So I cored mine, but I can see there's some seeds in there. So like we said before when I was cutting the lemon earlier in this video, always curl your fingertips inward so that way you don't catch your finger on the knife. Okay, and I'm going to cut it into quarters first because I see that there's some seeds in there. The brand of apple that I'm using is a piñata apple. And these are nice because they don't brown easily. So if your apples at home start to brown, a quick tip is to drizzle some lemon juice on it and cover it with saran wrap. It'll prevent it from browning so easily. Just until you can get your other ingredients in place. You might have a mandolin at home. That might help you slice these. gonna make a small portion. You can use an entire apple. Probably only use 3/4 of one. So now on my plate, I will set up my apples and have them overlap each other just a tiny bit. I'm just try to show you what that looks like. It has a nice little design to it. Okay. And now I have a microwave safe bowl, and I'm going to be using some peanut butter. If you have an allergy to peanut butter, you don't have to use it. You can also use sunflower butter or sun butter, or you can even use some honey instead of using any type of nut butter or sun butter. So. And I will put this for about 30 seconds in my microwave. So while that's still melting, I will add just a little bit of my slivered almonds. A little bit of my raisins. I have my peanut butter. It's the perfect consistency to pour. So I will be drizzling my peanut butter onto my beautiful apples. Just for a little added sweetness, a good alternative to using sugar is using honey. It does have sugar in it, but it's a more natural form of sugar. So you don't want to use too much. So we're just going to use a nice little drizzle. Okay. And there you have it. All right, girls, thanks for joining us today, learning how to keep ourselves healthy and happy and trying some new recipes out. Shout out to all of the nurses and healthcare workers out there helping everybody out in the community, in the world. We appreciate you for keeping us safe. I hope that you're staying safe. You know, remember to always wear a mask when you're going out in public and to wash our hands constantly and take care of ourselves. We're in this together, and I hope that you have a good rest of the week. Thanks for joining. Bye.